Hey, what's up, guys? It is the Ace Micheals Show. Welcome to it. If you ever want to be on the show, we'd love to have you. All you need to do is send us a, simple email or something and say, hey, I want to be on your show, man. And then we'll figure out how to get you on the show. And like I always say, it's always best if it's on your chest, come be a guest. Okay, come be a guest. Okay, we got to make sure we got the legal covered. Anyway, today on the show, our topic, I think, is going to be motivation. It's going to be trying to move your life forward. We've got a lot of things happening in the world today to make us wonder, holy smokes, what's going on? We got COVID, we got Omicron, we got Betacron, we got Transformatron. We got all this stuff happening, and people still bothering us about getting crypto on top of everything else. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot to think about, and it needs for a person to really clean off the plate and focus on what matters the most. So today, my guest, ALYSSA, will help us do that. ALYSSA, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm wonderful. Thank you, Ace, for having me.
Well, it's all my pleasure. Tell me a little bit about your story. How and why are you here? How did you get to be here?
Well, I am a life and spiritual coach. I have founded Waters of Wisdom Life and Spiritual Coaching, and I'm all about helping to guide people towards their own solutions and self-realizations of their blocks and fears, holding them back in life and holding them back from elevating and expanding their life to something they more truly desire.
Is this a problem that people are having, or they're not being able to manifest their life? I've never met anybody who said, oh, hey, by the way, I'm having a lot of trouble manifesting my life. Like, are you running into people who are having this trouble?
I believe it is a human experience and human condition kind of thing. I believe it's a bit of the hero's journey. So a part of my mission is to help guide people to the realization that they are the heroes of their own story and that the answers exist before the question can be even asked. So I help encourage and reflect back how capable and how worthy people are to be able to follow their own path in life and be able to create and build that confidence of self-worth that they can and they will and that they can really live the life that they see for their dreams.
Okay, so ALYSSA, let's say we start today with a therapy session or a life coaching session. A lot of American people want to know how fast I can get to the result. You know, we're real big on 6 weeks, 60 pounds, I can do that. You know, we need to know what's the payoff at the end. So how long do you usually engage in a life coaching session with someone? Is it 6 months? Is it 6 years? Is it forever? Like, how does that work?
That's a great question, Ace. So many people come to me for many different reasons. I coach the person and not the situation at hand, so I don't personally have to have gone through the issue myself. Now, some people come and see me for a couple of months, 3 months, 6 months. Some people stay for a year. It all really depends on what exactly they're trying to cultivate in their life. But with a coach is your accountability partner. It is someone there at every step of the way, helping you build smart goals and keeping you accountable and coaching you around those issues with exercises, thought-provoking questions, and different assignments to help you self-discover what's truly holding you back in life internally. There's a lot of unconscious fears and blocks that we're going through that we don't even realize are holding us back. But working with a coach definitely helps you waste less time. So someone might see a coach if they're spinning around and going around in circles and circles and circles and they don't have any time to waste. A coach will help you meet your goals much quicker, much doable, and much more enjoyable than if you were on your own.
That's very good. Now, clearly, what my guests would want to know, my viewers would say, well, what qualifies you to be a coach? You know, did you have some harrowing life experience? How can you relate to my problems? You know, I'm in this abusive relationship. I can't seem to stop drinking. I can't seem to stop these drugs. I can't keep a job. How can you relate to that?
Oh, that's such a good question. So what I had realized is that at the bottom foundation of the human experience and condition are all the same themes that we're all playing out. I'm not worthy. I'm not enough. I have fear of success, fear of failure, imposter syndrome. I'm inferior, all those things, but it manifests itself differently, wearing a different mask for each individual. But we just don't talk about it. So growing up in Las Vegas, Nevada, this town has some pretty grandiose ideas and standards for beauty, along with a very heavy custom party culture that is true and unique to this area. So for an impressionable young woman growing up in this town, I was affected heavily with all of that, as well as growing up in a bit of a chaotic household. So by the time I was 14, I started binge drinking pretty bad.
Oh, wow.
And I binge drank for 17 long years, and those self-perpetuating cycles of I have a bit of chaos around me growing up, and then as an adult and a young adult, I was perpetuating my own cycles of chaos. And my health deteriorated. I gained a bunch of weight. I had problems at work, and I had problems with my relationships. Just everything became a lot harder, and I had a ton of limiting beliefs of what I was capable of and what I was not capable of. I made the courageous choice to quit drinking after 17 years of doing that, which was almost 4 years ago.
Oh,
A couple months.
congratulations to
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you
Wow.
so much. And through that experience of realizing that I was being a bit of a coward with myself because I was so scared of change. I was so scared that everyone around me had to change, my environments had to change, I had to change, and I didn't know myself without it. So I had to take a complete surrendering. And I didn't have any type of spiritual connection at that time, and I didn't quite exactly know what that meant. And I surrendered, and I chose courage. It takes courage to love. And that act of self-love to quit drinking brought in the realization of divine love energy into my life. And that realization was self-love, that putting our needs first is enough. And us being ourselves exactly the way that we're born, being that innate love is enough. And our unique perspective is enough. And during that healing journey, I lost 50 pounds. I was still pretty functional and progressing in a healthy 10-year-long career at that time, or at the time a few years shy of 10 years. And I finally got to skyrocket and move really, really quickly in an area that I was already kind of making some progress in. And lo and behold, all of my environments had noticed and kind of caught on. They're like, whoa, what changed? What happened with Alyssa? I don't know what changed. I can't put my thumb on it, but I want some of that. And I started realizing, oh, wow. By me loving myself, I had such a positive impact on my environment, just as we do when we are being negative. It's contagious. And I started inspiring people around me, and it was a side effect that I wasn't expecting. And it's a side effect that I'm so extremely happy and fulfilled by. Because through that process, I got to realize in my last industry, my last career, that the only time I was ever feeling fulfilled was when I was coaching people professionally or helping them with all of their personal things that they were coming to me with the revolving door at my office. And I had realized that I had been coaching a bit most of my life. And between all of those kind of puzzle pieces coming together, and I studied sociology when I was younger in college, and have a huge passion about that. I always knew that I wanted to work with people and intimately with people. And there just came to a point where I was brave enough to leave a lower executive position in a corporate company after 10 years, starting at the front desk. A very, very emotional, challenging decision, but I chose my heart for once. And I didn't choose my conditioning. I didn't choose my fear. I didn't say, well, I've invested all my time in that. Why would I up and leave? Even though my heart was screaming for a change. It was screaming to serve. It was screaming to share my vulnerability. And because I recovered loudly from my alcoholism and my self-worth issues, it allowed other people to be inspired to have the realization that they can do the same. But it's only when we truly come up with our own solutions and our own self-realizations that processes like this work, because it's intimate to us. And when it's intimate to us and we're not following somebody else's agenda, it creates long-lasting change.
Yeah, I'm very familiar because I grew up in an abusive household. My stepfather was a very abusive man. And long story short, through the years, through my music career and my successes in show business, I always had this specter in front of me, like, he said I could never do anything. He said I was a loser. He said, and so long story short, one weekend I found myself touring, and I was in a hotel room. It was raining cats and dogs outside in that city, so I wasn't able to go anywhere, but I could just watch TV all weekend. And that particular weekend, there was a Rocky movie marathon, right? And so I came up with my philosophy to this day that what happens to Rocky in all of these movies is he starts off at the beginning not believing that he can win. He doesn't believe that he should even be a challenger. He doesn't believe he should even be in the same ring because he's so unworthy. And then things happen in his personal life that make him realize that, wait a minute, I could land a punch. I could actually knock this guy out, and I could actually be the heavyweight champion of the world the next day. So I think, in my opinion, that once we believe that we aren't all these things we've been programmed to believe, and it's hard because we have people around us that love us, that surround us with their fears. Are you sure you should take that job? Well, yeah, it's a better job than the one I got now. Why wouldn't I take it? Are you sure you can succeed at that? Are you sure you should join the team? All of this stuff really comes from their fears. And then we have our own breakdowns that we have to come over. Like, I don't really want $1 million that bad. I don't really want it, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it would be healthy for me to be out on tour because I might cheat on my wife. What? No, none of this has anything to do with reality. The reality is you're worth it. You deserve better. You want better. You should go get better. And so, what are your thoughts on that? I'm saying all that to lead to your thoughts on that.
This is the good stuff. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because we're talking about limiting beliefs here and things that sit unconsciously and block us from moving forward and to meeting our goals in life. So, like you said, it's learned behavior, right? And when it's repeated over time, we start to believe it, whether it's conditioning from outside, an authority figure, from society, from our own perception of something that happened when we were younger, and we created a negative judgment about that. Coaching is about unpeeling back all those layers of what you are not, to have the realization of what you were the whole time, which is love. Like, for example, when I quit drinking and when I got my top industry designation in my last industry, I was the 3,033rd person in internationally to get this. I was quite young for that. So it was and I had to quit drinking to be able to finish that little case study and be able to follow through with that. Doing those two kind of back to back made my mind go poof. And I was like, whoa, this world is so big, and I am the creator. I am the master creator, and I can create what I please. And when I give up control, I get it. Whatever we resist persists. I'm done with these limiting self-behaviors, and it made me realize, oh my gosh, what else can I do? If I can do this, what I thought that wasn't possible at some point, what else can I do? And I got hungry for it. And a lot of these experiences and evolution and awakenings that I had in myself is what motivates me, inspires me to help others and continue to show up for others to help them improve their lives. Because it helps improve mine as well when I help and show up to improve theirs. Together as a collaboration in a trust and bonding environment that's sacred, that's non-judgmental, that's confidential, we can really let out and self-discover and realize some of those things that are limiting us, and decide what we want to do with it.
Do you find that you have to, not you necessarily, but I would say a client or a person, a nay person, does a person have to guard themselves from the old friends? Like, there's a saying, if you go to prison, you get out of prison, you can't find a job, you end up hanging out with the same people who are criminals, and then you're going to end up back in prison again. But the same thing happens to our emotional prison state. If you are in a bad relationship, you think, well, let's try one more time. Let's get back together. Let's try to make it work. Then you find yourself, it's not working. You're trapped in this situation. Is it safer to just cut ties with the old people?
Great question. So ultimately, that answer has to come with each individual, but I will say this. Mom was right. We are who we hang out with. So, and if we want to get nerdy, I love to get nerdy. If we want to get nerdy about it, let's talk about it on an energetic consciousness state of level. We will attract magnetically with our electromagnetic field what we are holding at that time. So if we're an angry person, we are going to attract more angry people to us. And if we have more angry people towards us, we're probably going to have more conflict, right?
Right.
If we're a positive person or solution forward type of person, we're going to be as within, so without. We're going to be looking for that. So we're going to naturally attract those that are on that same vibration, right? So while sometimes it's hard to completely eliminate all of the negative people and different things, especially if it comes with family and stuff. However, it's imperative to be mindful. It's imperative to be mindful about where you're going and who you're becoming, and to plant your decisions and choices, whether it be with who you hang out with or with anything else, geared to who am I becoming. So if I'm becoming someone that has full self-love, you're going to ask yourself in those choices and decisions moments and pause and say, is this someone who has full self-love? Is this something that that they would do? And so the answer there from your higher authority is very, very clear. And it'll continue to build with the law of cause and effect to create the fruit of your labor, of what you're seeking, if you just let go and just trust the process of becoming. So, good question. If we're hanging out with people that we're leaving and we feel drained, that, those energy vampires, I want to suck your energy. And give me some of that. You're a positive person. You're my feel-good fairy. I love you. And I'm walking out of the room and I'm like, man, that sucks. I feel like crap. And now I'm sad and I'm carrying this around. Especially some of us are more sensitive energetically to pick up and absorb. I believe it's something that we really need, if we're going to love ourselves, to be able to ask ourselves those questions. Where am I going? Who am I becoming? Does these choices and actions align with that? And that can create our GPS or navigation system. But if we point the fingers and try to tell people, you can't hang out with them because they're bad news bears and they were abusive to you, and I don't want you to see you go through that, that everybody as an individual has to come to these things for themselves. And this is why it comes down to a self-worth issue. And this is why I like to specialize with my clients, self-worth. Because when we remove, peel back all those onion layers, that's what's underneath. And that's why my work, the work I do, works for people. And that's why the art of transformation can be witnessed. Because if we can pull from the root, all the other stuff will take care of itself.
Interesting.
So it's about being efficient. So coaching will help you become more efficient with meeting your goals and your accountability, so we can get at kind of some of those more shadowy things that us ourselves are in denial about or don't even realize are happening. Yeah.
I like to say that, number one, I'm a lazy individual. I don't like to work. I like to get paid, but that's me. But there are things that you have to do that you don't like to do. So I've found that if you can make a habit of it, I like to say 6 days. So I find that if there's something I don't want to do, but I have to do it for my work or for my career, and it's just a necessary evil, I say to myself, well, if I can do it for a week, then it will become a habit. And I don't have to worry about it anymore because it will naturally be part of what I do. I don't like to work out, but if I do 6 push-ups for a week, then it becomes a habit. Then the next week I can add 6 more, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, yes, yes. There is a great book on some of these topics called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I highly recommend. But it's all about that 1% better every day, right? And so anything that we do repetitively can become automated, whether it's negative thinking, positive thinking, a good habit, a bad habit, a neutral habit. Anything that we're doing over and over will become automated. So that's kind of what we're seeking in personal development, because those smaller habits create wins for smaller goals, and those smaller goals create wins for your big goals, right? Mm-hmm. Our beliefs create our attitudes create our habits create our behaviors, and our behaviors create our life.
Okay.
So in the process of becoming, you have to remove and replace what you're trying to take out. If you don't replace it, your body and your subconscious will go back to exactly what you're used to, exactly what it's normal and comfortable with. So habit making, when it comes to like habit stacking, you can stack a habit on top of a habit that you already have. So I'm done with brushing my teeth and I want to create and cultivate a new habit, and maybe it's going out and taking a walk for 15 minutes a day, starting small. Knowing that you're doing it at the same time, same place every day creates a better ease and flow for an automation as well.
Okay.
Same thing with visual cues. If you want to pick up a journaling habit, put your journal to where you can see it to be cued visually, out in a place, same time, same place, same location. Mm-hmm. And you're going to automate the process for it. So you're taking the thought process out of it and automating it to, what am I trying to say? Sorry.
No, I feel like it's kind of like muscle memory is what you're saying. You're saying that things will become so automated that you just do them, and that's really what you want. Mm-hmm. If you want to be a surfer, you got to go out there every morning at 6 a.m. You got to get on the board. You got to stand on the board. You got to fall off the board and get back up on the board. And you got to do that every day. After you do it a certain amount of time, then your body will just wake up at 6 in the morning. You just automatically grab your board. You just automatically go out. That's what you're saying?
Exactly. We're going from a state of doing to being.
Okay.
And that's kind of what we're gearing towards.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what, great creative people, like I'll pick on Prince, for example, probably was able to do that. Just pick up a guitar and play anything on it. And so then it wasn't like he had to learn to play guitar because he'd already done that step. Now he was at the step where he could take any instrument and create what he visualized in his mind. Like it's like speaking a different language. If you really know French, you don't have to speak and learn French. You already are using French as part of your daily muscle memory, if you will. I want to talk about addiction. Addiction is a very, very big problem in our world right now. There is no escaping the fact that we're having a hard time in this country and all over the world. We're having a rough time with the chemical addictions, with drinking. There's so many. So first part of my question is addiction a real thing that is a monster in your closet that's just coming out to get you? Or is addiction a made-up thing that you believe you must have an addiction because you don't feel like everybody else? You don't do things like everybody else. So it must be the fact that I'm a meth addict. That's what it is. I do meth, and that's why I'm different. Does that question make sense?
Totally makes sense. And I just want to disclose really quickly that I am not a trained substance abuse counselor.
Oh, but however, I am.
No. Yeah. However, I definitely have some insights and some personal experience with that. I think it's a compilation of a handful of things. Genetics, environmental factors, brain chemistry. A lot of people who struggle with brain chemistry issues, yeah. That's me.
Is that you? You have brain chemistry issues?
I have some, I'm ADHD, so
really?
I have a deficiency of dopamine receptors, and I have a trouble creating a reward motivation system with my executive functions in my brain. My brain just works differently. And so I was undiagnosed when I was younger, and it's just more into my adult life that I'm realizing that I was self-medicating, and whether it was alcohol or marijuana or food or TV, anything to kind of circulate around to kind of get those dopamine hits to try to keep my body and my functions going. So I think some people might be that. I know that people with bipolar, for example, disorder, they themselves too are predisposed and have a higher risk for substance abuse issues. And so it can be a lot of things, but through my personal experience, what I had realized is the illusion of separateness, a lot of it, at the time for us. And what I mean by that is illusion of separateness to the oneness energy. That you and I, we come from the same. That I am you and you are me, and we are here, fractals, through our limiting senses, through our hosts of our bodies, experiencing life, and we forget the connection to all of life and all of creation. And that can create a depression and an anxiety within us. And we feel we're separate from everything else. And we forget we're part of that macroorganism and that we have purpose. We have purpose here in this macroorganism to give our gifts and to participate in that larger scale. And when we feel like we don't have that type of purpose and we lack the clarity of the oneness energy connection, it can make us feel all on our own and can lead us to some of these behaviors.